I had heard about the ecstatic dance here. It was so healing for me. And I would watch the people there, and I loved the vulnerability, just the way they're so open and not worried about what anybody's thinking. The Vorderfest had asked me to choreograph something. I said I'd really like to do something that's using the people here in Sedona. Been watching for a year. Like, it was so weird that opportunity, because I didn't make that happen. It was brought to me, and that's how Sedona Dance Project was birthed. Was they said, can you come do something? And I went, I've been watching these people for a year, and now I know what I'm gonna do. And I started going around at the ecstatic dance and inviting every people that I had seen, and said, would you like to come and do this? And they were like, yes.
Drop in,
unwind,
and recalibrate
as we shift your mentality and your reality.
Let's elevate alongside one another as we keep the vibes high
and we keep the consciousness ever evolving in this collective of high vibrational frequencies.
Welcome to the High Vibe Collective podcast. We're your hosts,
Aaron
and Stephanie.
Hi everyone, this is Sabina with the High Vibe Collective, and today I'm very honored to introduce you to someone very dear to me that I have the pleasure and the honor to learn from, to be in co-creation too. And here's Danielle. Danielle, thank you for being here. Can you please introduce yourself? Tell us who are you?
Okay, yes, thanks for having me. I'm Danielle McNeal, and I'm currently Artistic Director of Sedona Dance Project, but many other things in life. And I'm just honored to be here and share a little bit about how dance affects my life and those around me.
Thank you, Danielle. A theme that is very dear to my heart too, as part of the healing journey, is dance, and how dance impacts the body, the mind, and the soul in a way that we don't need to think that we are not dancers. It's our birthright to move, and from that movement, we start creating something different. And you can call it dance, you can call it a choreography, or just, the possibility to be embodied in your body.
Yeah.
So in your case, that you're a professional dancer, how that journey started for you?
Well, it started very young. I probably was like 3 or 4 years old, and my family has film of me dancing in Central Park in New York in the sprinklers, and it was kind of like I was putting on a show for all the people around. So it was kind of like a natural thing for me to want to move naturally, just to play and move, but to also do it for others. So that aspect of a performer was there at an early age. And I didn't receive dance training officially until I was 12, so which is considered very late in life. And I was actually rejected from the School of Performing Arts, which is the FAME school, when I went and auditioned, and they said I didn't have any training. And so my mom put me in private dance lessons, because I knew I was supposed to be a dancer. So I was like, well, that's weird. So we just pushed through, and I'm always like, I think when there's a challenge for me, it pushes me to achieve the thing that someone says I can't do. And I think that's why I inspire so many of my students. If they tell me they can't do something, whatever, it's just because of my whole pathway through dance actually was always a challenge for me, because I was flat-footed, or I didn't have the body type that people wanted at the time. Now it's a little bit more accepting, to be more muscular, or just to have that Afro-American build that when I was younger was not really accepted as much. And so I struggled with a lot of eating disorders and all the negative things toward myself. And even the dance itself, dance can be healing, but dance can also be, it was a struggle for me, because I was trying to be something I wasn't. That's why it was a struggle. And until later in life, actually until after I had all 3 of my children, in my 30s, is when I came into being the strongest dancer in my 30s. And so it's really funny, because some people, they get to be 25 and they think, oh, I'm hanging up my dancing shoes, I'm retiring. And so it's really interesting, because I found that with the wisdom and birth, the birth process, I think just does something in our bodies that, first of all, you go through something that's so challenging, then there's nothing you can't do once you do that. And so I think that's what raised the level in my dancing. And I would say in my 30s, I was probably strongest. And then that's also when I started to venture out as a choreographer. So in my 20s, I came to Arizona State University from New York. It was recommended to me from the Alvin Ailey School, which is a prestigious dance company. And so I went to ASU, and I studied there, got my degree in dance, and started performing for Desert Dance Theater, which is a modern dance company in Phoenix, and I danced with them for about 25 years. But I didn't choreograph, didn't, really do any of that. And then I came up to Pine Top, Sholo area to raise my children there and lead dance. I actually decided when I had my kids, and my youngest was 4, that it was too hard to keep dancing professionally and meet the needs of my family. Mm-hmm. And so I decided we moved up to Sholo. It's a small town in the mountains of Arizona, and just be a stay-at-home mom. And I said, I'm not going to dance. And that didn't last very long, but probably about within a year, I was dancing again, but I wasn't teaching dance yet. And then probably about 5 years in, I got into the dance studio there, started a modern and a jazz program, and doing lots of choreography, and then started a company, DMJ Dance Collective. And we traveled. I took my students. They were students. And, we went to these professional dance festivals. And, at first I got a no. I admitted. And they were like, well, we don't accept dance schools. Like, this is professional. So that's when I rebranded, because I don't like no. I say, okay, there's a way around this, because these dancers are strong, and we have really good, powerful works to bring. And so I just put it under DMJ Dance Collective, and I brought my dancers in. And we did that for probably about 8 to 10 years, bringing different dances to festivals, and Vegas to New York to Vermont to Phoenix, all over. So it became a great opportunity for them to grow and experience dance in a way that they would have never experienced in a small town. So it was fun to create an opportunity for them where there would have just been a dead-end road. Where's it going? So it was really nice. And they're all out doing different things now, and I'm so proud of all those dancers. But, it was a nice journey, and so here I am now in Sedona and doing the same thing here.
Wow, what a journey you have gone through. And I want to highlight all the resiliency that you have experienced in saying yes to the dance, in the following your call, realizing that dance is for me. I am a dancer, and there's no one that is going to stop you from doing that. So in this path of realizing this is what I want and this is what I'm doing, either if I have the permission or not, what supported you to really cultivate that resiliency and to be there, showing up for yourself and also for the dance?
Well, different times in my life, it was different things. I think earlier in my life, I was just, there was a calling. Like, it was clear to me. Like, so when someone said, they said, you'll never be a dancer, is what they told me. And you just don't have the training. And I was like, that was just more of, it was a calling, and it was clear to me. And so I've always listened to my inner self, and when it speaks clear, I just follow it. The times that I didn't listen to my inner self, like I said, when I went through my eating disorder, were very challenging times. So being true to my inner voice has always been really important to me. And so I think later in life, as I started to sit more in meditation, and that quiet time is when I connect with my higher self and universe, source, God, whatever you want to call it. That's when it becomes very clear to me what I need to do in dance, so that's basically just, I listen. The motivation is deep within me. It's never about what I want to do something to impress somebody. When I was younger, and some of my friends who grew up with me will tell you stories. I would make up dances in our neighborhood, and these people were not dancers, but I would be like, we're going to do this thing, we're going to make this show, because it was just always fun for me to do that and always create, and just bring in all my friends, and we would do talent shows. And I had a friend, she was sick backstage because she had stage fright. And, you know, she'd never been on the stage before. And I was like, nope, we're doing this. You're getting out there. And she did it, and she was fine. And she got over her stage fright. Things that I love to do without fear of judgment and without it being like worried about what others are going to think. Because I think if you can overcome that, that's the biggest roadblock for most people entering into dance. Like if I say, do you want to dance? Do you want to come? Even like at parties, you know, some people, they have to take some alcohol or something just to get on a dance floor and dance, you know, which is very refreshing to see here in Sedona. So many people just get out on the dance floor and they don't need anything. They're more, I guess, connected with themselves. So once again, it goes back to that. I think the more that you're connected with yourself, the freer you will be to dance. And so it's a matter of getting people to get to that place. Is where you need to show them who they are and that they're amazing and that they can do it, and then they get over themselves, right? Because sometimes we're our biggest roadblock.
Right.
So dance, I always say, is always the greatest analogy and metaphor for life. When I'm teaching my kids in class, you know, there's so many metaphors that I'm giving about a dance move, and I go, wait, this is similar to life. Like you have to push through, you know, or you know, feel love filling you and then act in that way, right? And then that's like, well, that's like life too, right? So it's kind of interesting how just something as simple as dance is affects so much and so powerful.
Yeah, just say simple yet profound with the analogies of your own life. The way you are dancing through life is also the way you are experiencing your own body and your relationship to others.
Yeah.
And I really want to highlight something that you mentioned about how so many people feel that they need to be on any substance or even alcohol to start moving and to remove themselves from the shame of, oh, I need to occupy space and I can be seen in my full expression. And something that I really admire about being around you is like the permission to move, the permission to be seen, to really express fully through the body.
Thank you.
Yeah. And with that being said, I also admire how you are shifting the paradigm of dance in many ways, and one of them is you being the founder of the Sedona Dance Project. So when I hear your story that since the beginning you were doing these talent shows, and now you're like, oh, let's bring this in another level.
Yeah.
I wonder if the idea came from that.
I think it's just deeply rooted in me once again, and being inclusive because I was excluded, and I felt like an underdog for a lot of my dance career. There's just those negative voices, and people said things like I just said. They said I didn't have the right body type, or I didn't have the right feet, you know. And so, especially when you train in New York, it's pretty. I mean, there's so many people that want to dance, and so they're just going to be very clear. And so you have to work so hard to first of all get the attention, and sometimes you try to be something you're not because you think that's what I need to be. I need to be 98 pounds or whatever, you know. And so I thought in my head that's what I needed to be. To win the approval of others, right? So we shouldn't live life living the approval of others. We should be living fully for ourselves. But that's a lesson. I'm 40. Look at me, I'm 40. I'm 53 years old. I don't know how old I am because it's just a number. But
You don't look like that.
it's easy for me to say that here. But when I was in my 20s or a teenager, it's not so easy. So for me, the Sedona Dance Project is opening these doors. There are people that have come through, right, that said, I never thought I would ever be on the stage performing, you know, like that's such a big deal for them. And never in their lives did they imagine that, and that they would be in a studio under the direction of somebody, and, you know, and I could be pretty intense, you know, you've been in my rehearsals as well, but it's always for the benefit. I try to always communicate that this is for the benefit of you looking good on stage, but more than that, so that the people who come have a good experience. And so if we put our whole intention and we fine-tune what we're doing, we create a great experience for everybody coming. So it's not just to impress them at all. I just want them in the room to come out and feel good. And you know, if you're watching someone that looks uncomfortable, or you feel bad for them. You know, we've all seen performances where, you know, people wipe out on the stage or whatever, and it's like, oh, you just feel bad, you know. So you don't want to make those opportunities. So you want to make it smooth so that the audience can just sit and really get into the story of the dance and not so much, looks like they don't know what they're doing, you know. And so that's why I think in the Sedona Dance Project, people who come in, it's definitely a workshop for them. They're learning through the process, you know, and I'm learning because as a choreographer, especially coming from dance training, I have dance language, but I'm working with movers, not necessarily trained dancers. And I love to say movers because we're all movers, right? And somehow dancer feels like you're excluding somebody. Immediately they go, well, I'm not a dancer.
Or I'm not trained, I don't have the background.
And you are, everybody can dance in some way. It's their own way, vocabulary. It's a vocabulary of movement. And so when you're a choreographer, you have to have a vocabulary that you can communicate to your dancers, to your movers. And so when you have people come in and don't have that kind of training, you can't use that language anymore of glissade and pirouette or whatever. It doesn't mean anything. So you have to use analogies that help people to move, washing the table. Right? So things like that helps them to move in ways that they probably didn't even know they could move. So they explore deeper and further outside of just this limited space that we're in. Right, and movement can transcend and make that happen, and it's so magical when people finally feel it and extend themselves further than they ever thought they could with their physical body, and then maybe it makes them realize the possibilities of their whole being, right? You know, the physical body is limited, right? So if we can make the physical body do these things, how much more so, you know, can we function? So it's like I said, there's always these analogies that are like, wow, like this is so powerful. Yeah,
knowing how to use the language of the soul to really reveal the movement that the mover has inside, so you know how to retrieve that from them. And in my experience from dancing at an early age, very short time, I always felt that I was never good in following choreographies. Like, to me, the whole count 1, 2, 3, and learn the steps was always so tricky. I was thinking, like, my body wants to move in a different way. Or what is the purpose? What is the story behind? So when I started working with you and seeing how you were teaching us, it was like something clicked. It really makes so much sense to know there's a story behind. There's these analogies. My body wants to move because I feel that there's something that is inspiring, rather than just going 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is the step to go. So that is a huge shift in the whole, you know, creating dance.
It's powerful. And as a choreographer and as a teacher, like when I teach a choreography workshop or when I teach my dance classes, I don't use counts a lot. Sometimes there's places for a count, but like if you think about it, if you're counting by eighths, there's so many eighths in that piece of music, so now you don't know, there's no landmark. So creating sound effects or analogies that go with the movement. So if you were choreographing or dancing on just those counts, that's when it becomes very robotic. And it loses the life that the composer has put in the music. Composer doesn't ever just do the whole notes. That's, you know, that they're not just doing this, they're creating music. And so therefore dance is a composition in and of itself. Once you have movement, you can compose it in so many ways and make it move in so many different levels and ways. And so as a choreographer, I like to play around with that. And so for me, I found that moving away from counts and getting into even emotion, letting the emotion and just feeling the music, right? Allowing the music without even counting. You don't listen to music and you don't count. When you sit down to a concert, you just listen and you feel, you interpret.
And you just receive it.
Yeah. And so we can do that with dance. You know, we should do that with dance because it will help expand us. But sometimes we first have to start somewhere, and that's okay. But even with the smallest children, I start them feeling, you know, and they're very natural in it. We train them the other way, which is the same thing in life. We condition a lot of things that sometimes are not beneficial for us. Not necessarily good or bad. I don't like to use those terms, but some things are beneficial in certain times too, and then they no longer are, you know. So that's just the way. You have scaffolds that hold up a building, but you don't leave them there forever. You slowly get rid of the scaffolds once the building is standing on its own, and it's the same thing with with dance, you know. So
Yeah.
it's pretty powerful, yeah.
Yeah, shifting paradigms.
Yeah,
Yeah, very powerful.
yeah.
So tell us about your journey when you arrived here to Sedona after being in different places and having your own dancing experiences and choreographing. What happened here?
Well, I fell in love. But, and that's a funny journey too, because I had a 10-year hiatus from dating. I just traveled. I went around to different places, different countries by myself, did solo travel, and just focused on the relationship with myself and building that love with myself. And then also the other reason I would travel solo is to get rid of the identity of there's so much projection, especially me being a mother and a teacher and all these things and a leader, and there's so much expectation on me that I needed to go away somewhere where no one knew me and where I could just be an observer and nothing is expected of me, and so therefore I could be more in my true self without and expectations or even the projections that people have of us, our loved ones, are not really bad, but they do keep us in that box of this is the form that I am, this is who I am, and I'm fluid. That's why I said I'm currently an artistic director of Sedona Dance Project, because that may not be who it's a nonprofit, so at some point I could pass it on to someone else. I don't own the company. I made sure to create a nonprofit for that reason. But I was traveling, and I had heard about the ecstatic dance here, and so I came, and it was so healing for me to be able to. At first, I didn't know anybody here in Sedona at all, and so it was nice to come and just dance and know that no one's watching, nobody's expecting anything.
Right. No one knows your background or who you are.
And just dance free. And I was like, I really like this. This is healing. This is what I need. I need to be able to move and not have to think about anything. And so it was very healing for me. And that's when I met my beloved, Brandon Strabela, who hosts the ecstatic dance here for the last 6 years now. He does it free. Does it out on the rocks, and it's just a beautiful experience for so many people coming through, just being able to move free. And I would watch the people there, and I loved the vulnerability and just the way they're so open and and not worried about what anybody's thinking, and so I really enjoyed that. And so once Brandon and I got together, which is a magical story for another time, but
two dancers coming together.
Yeah, it was meant to be. And so after a year of long distance, I come here every weekend, 3.5-hour drive from the mountains of Arizona, and it was a good time for me though, because I didn't really I knew people through Brandon. He would just he knows everybody, and he'd introduce me to everybody. But I wanted to be the quiet, just in the background. And so
it didn't last long.
It didn't last long. But I did want to just be the observer, when I travel. And so I watched, and I would sit and watch these ecstatic dances and go, oh my gosh, these people move so beautifully. And I was like, oh, I wish I could just get in there and I could do something with that person. Oh, I love their movement qualities. And I'm always looking at qualities and how a person moves and where the energy flows. And that's how I choreograph, is where the energy is flowing, that's where we're going. And so I just observed. That's one of the things that Brandon really was a great model for, was he said, especially with Sedona, you don't just come in and start doing your thing. You watch, and you give and you serve. And he's been serving for a very long time. And so when we decided I was going to move here, and I had to give up my whole dance life back there, and I was really scared because I thought, well, I don't know, I might not dance here. I didn't know. I wasn't in the school yet. Jessica had from the Sedona Dance Academy had reached out to me. It was really interesting. It was our last recital that I was doing in Shola, which was very emotional for me. So I was leaving a program that I had built. And supportive, the dance academy up there, Becky Eagle was just the most supportive person. She just allowed me to create whatever. They really fostered my choreography, because they they just trusted and allowed me, you know, and supported me. And to leave that was a little scary. Right. And the day after our recital, Jessica reached out to me and asked if I could come next week and teach at her summer intensive. And I thought the timing was just perfect,
right.
Like, because I needed to feel needed, like, somewhere else, because I'm leaving, and working with the kids is very important to me as well. And so the timing was just so perfect. And so, and same thing as Becky over in Sholo, Jessica embraced me and said, yeah, come, teach your modern. You know, no one knows what it is here. You know, we had to build the program at the school, and she was just so supportive and asked me to come in and share it. And so, and people have received it very well there. And so that I started teaching at the Dance Academy right away here in Sedona. And that was very good for me to feel. That was the first part that made me feel welcomed here. And that I'm supposed to be here by the timing of that. And then the Vortifest had asked me to choreograph something for the Vortifest, like an opening number, you know, whatever. And I said, I'd really like to do something that's more like using the people here in Sedona. Like, I've been watching for a year. Like, it was so weird that opportunity, because I didn't make that happen. It was brought to me, and that's how Sedona Dance Project was birthed, was they said, can you come do something? And I've been watching these people for a year. Now I know what I'm gonna do. And I started going around at the Ecstatic Dance and inviting people that I had seen, and said, would you like to come and do this? And they were like, yes. They didn't know what I was going to do with them. They were so trusting. You know, they came to that first rehearsal, some of them very nervous, have never performed before, don't know what to expect or what I'm going to ask them to do. You know, and
surprise.
Yeah. And I don't know what I'm going to do until I walk in the studio, until I have all those bodies and that energy in the room, and then we just start moving. And I love that, because it's just alchemy, right? Yes. And this magic that just something that didn't exist. You leave that room at the end of the day, now exists, that didn't exist because of the collective energy in that room. It's powerful, right? It's not just a dance. Like, some people don't understand. They just think, oh, it's a cute little dance, you know. No. But there's something so magical that happens in the process, which was really cool. So I named it Sedona Dance Project. I don't know, it just seemed like a project to me. And that's how it was birthed from that moment on. And then we just kept doing more events. People invited us, and so then I would create something else for that event, and the Muse of Light came, and you know, it's the same thing, right? This magic. We're in the studio, and I'm like, I have this vision, I want an altar, and here's this Muse of Altars in this rehearsal studio, right? And then I want a poem, and look, you make poetry. So this is how it works. It's like that is nothing, you know, set. I didn't cast you because I already knew those things. I already cast you because I loved your energy, but then when we started talking, you're like, I do all those things, and I would love to do that, right?
Yeah,
and so
then boom, it happens.
It's that magic and that unfolding that is so fun. And I just trust it. I know it can be very scary for other choreographers, like if you have a deadline and you're creating something for a deadline and you're just like, hey, let's go come in here and play. Like, for some people, that's very nerve-wracking because they want to know what it's going to be. They want to have that structure. And most times somebody says, I want, you know, we did this for Rooted in Movement, was what we created Muse of Light for. And I had no idea what was going to unfold into. And that's the beauty of channeling. Whenever somebody is creative, I don't care what avenue they are in, dance, art, music, they're channeling. It's an honor to create. And so when you're open to that and you get out of the way and you get your ego out of the way, it's just going to come. Like, I just trusted every single time that it's going to come. No idea. Even this last show, you know, I did 6 pieces in the show, and I had, going into it, all 5 of them were brand new pieces. No idea, you know, what's going to happen, you know, but just trusting that the universe is going to bring what the audience needed to see that night. And
there's always a story is that the people don't know are unfolding behind the scenes. Like, the movers are being moved by the choreography, you know. So when they come in the stage and they are there to channel and to honor the dance and this vision, there's something that is being moved also inside of them from the time that they have practiced, that they have been together in relationship to your vision, to this piece. And I have experienced that firsthand. Yeah, seeing the magic once you are on stage, there's definitely a channeling.
Yeah. It's magical. And so I'm hoping, when I do this choreography workshop in June, that I can bring other people into that experience. Because I really, it's one thing to take a dance class. And I know there's a lot of people that are like, well, I can't create, I have to first do all this dance. That's not necessarily true. There's probably some choreographers out there that don't even have to dance. They can just see it and they can make it happen on somebody's body. And so I want to encourage those people. It's going to be really fun to see what comes out of people and give them the toolbox. I have a toolbox that I use or guidelines, but in and of itself, it always is going to come from you. And it's just the toolbox allows you to channel. So it's just opening up an avenue so that the channeling can happen and gets you out of the way. So that's basically the tools that I give people is this will help get you out of the way so that because your doubts and all the other things will stop you and you'll get like a writer's block. It's the same thing in dance. You can stand there and nothing comes. When somebody says, do this movement, then all of a sudden the person stands there and they don't know what to do. Right? So I give them tools that help them work through that. And it's really fun to watch people in their creative process, which is a whole different thing than just coming to dance and learning to master your body, which is super important, because we're the facility. And so we have to have our facility and somewhat kind of conditioning, that's why I like to use yoga people too, because they're so connected to their bodies, or somebody who's running and they have good cardio endurance and they don't realize, that's part of that. They're building that facility so that I can then manipulate it, right? But then the universe is so open to allowing that. Let's try this. And what you can just change, you can erase it. It's not a big deal, right? You can come in and say, I've changed things many times. I've come in, I've done a whole bunch of stuff and go, I was working too hard in my mind. But then when I sat and I meditated the next day, it was so clear. This is what needs to be. And not feeling ashamed to come in and say, I need to change this, and not worry about that the dancers are going to judge me and be like, I shouldn't know what she's doing. Right? Nobody's ever done that. They're just like, okay. What can we do now?
Because you're creating in the process, and at the same time the process is unfolding in front of your eyes, and as a creative visionary you cannot be like, no, this is what I want to do. It's like, I'm serving the vision, and you are getting out of the way for that.
It's powerful. It really is. I think I would love for more people to experience it or to witness it, because I think it's a lot different. They see the end product and they think, oh my God, I could never make something like that. But that's with any artistic endeavor. I don't care what it is, even a novel. The novel it doesn't start at the end. It was like a few sentences, and that author probably scribbled, threw it out, and then it just kept building, and then it was the novel. But you can't look at the end product, because there's many different things that brought it to that place. And will never be the same again. Right. That's what's also fun about it, is it's never going to be the same again. It's always going to be a different, I don't know. That's why I get so excited. Oh, we're going to start a new thing, because I get excited, and I'm working with new people, new energy in the room. What is that going to be like? Different people working together. That is so beautiful. It's I feel so blessed, to be able to participate in that and facilitate it. I'm not in charge of it. I facilitate it, and that's important for anybody who's a choreographer or a director to understand that you're never really in control 100%.
Yeah. So in that you're not in control and releasing expectations, what would you recommend for people that are just brand new to dance and they feel the call, they know that that's something that brings them joy, but they don't know where to start?
So I would always say first start in your home by yourself, right? Because that's the safest place. And you can be honest with yourself, because if you can't be free when you're by yourself, right, and then you have eyes on you, it's going to be a lot harder. So to take that solitude time, put on some music while you're cooking. You said go in the room, put the music on, and now there you are with your ego right there saying, you got to do this, right? And so I think if it's secondary, I remember I was in Costa Rica, and this beautiful man that was cooking for us, I remember watching him in the kitchen, and he always had music on. And he was and he was a beautiful dancer, and he was chopping, and it was just secondary, and it was just a part of
his life.
Yeah, and his ritual of preparing. And I was like, all that goodness is going in our food.
Wow.
And I think for some people, if they think of it, just put music on and just start moving and exploring. And you could, sometimes I'll give somebody a prompt, because some people need a prompt. So maybe it's just move slow. Whatever that is, or heartfelt. Maybe for them it's an emotion. Some people it's time. Some people it's emotion. You know, so you have to find their prompt, right? So it's just like writers. To me, the creative process is very similar to art and to writing, and people don't realize that, right? So if somebody says you want to be a writer, right, they're going to go. You don't write in front of people. You go and you write in your little journal and write some words down, you know, and maybe for them they need a prompt. Maybe they need words that rhyme, right? But some people that's not a good prompt. Maybe it's words of feeling or whatever. So it's the same exact thing, just in movement. And so if they can find one prompt or something to focus on, maybe that might help them. Because sometimes if it's too open, just move any way you want, they freeze. There's too many options. So you narrow it down. And I do that in my choreography workshops when I work with people, because improvisation or free-form movement is so important for people to be able to explore in order to allow new movement to come through. So you have to be open to that, right? Just being free to move, you know. And some people get very stiff, and that's all the self-conscious, right? We got to get rid of that. And so I think at first it starts by themselves, and then maybe they invite somebody in. One person, and then maybe they go, and some people maybe it is a group because you get invisible in the group. So then I would say go to an ecstatic dance, you know, and because it's a big group, everybody's into themselves, and nobody's watching you. So you could be free in exploring and moving and going, oh yeah, like I can move, or I do have some kind of rhythm. And not everybody has rhythm, and that's okay, you know. But they have different rhythm. There's many different rhythms too. I think that people misunderstand that too. Like if you're a flamenco dancer, not everybody's gonna, or tap dance, not everybody's gonna have that kind of rhythm.
Right.
But there's many other kinds of rhythms.
Salsa.
Salsa, yeah. These rhythms are different, right? And so, but there's a person that has a vibrating rhythm, and they can really vibrate, and some people can't vibrate. Still a rhythm. See, and so people don't realize that. They think it has to be this very controlled and orchestrated type of movement, and it's not necessarily true. So so I would definitely say explore by yourself, explore then within a group, and then come to, you know, they can come to a dance class. Some people are very insecure about coming to dance class, and that's okay. That sometimes is not for everybody, you know. So just finding what makes you comfortable, and do that first, and then branch out, because it's a very vulnerable thing to be in front of people. And that's why I'm very careful about who I invite in to the project, because once you come in and I say you're going to perform, it's the very first thing I say to somebody: this is the date you're going to perform. So that's a big deal for some people. They're like, oh my God, I'm going to have to do this in front of people. I've not really had an issue with anybody that I've used where they've had last minute thoughts and go, I can't do this. I think because we work so much as a team and support each other through the process, that by the time it gets to the performance date, I've never had anybody say, oh, I cannot do this. Like they've allowed the fear to, because there's some people that have stage fright so much that they can't move. Like I've seen it, so I know. I've seen it with the dance students, because those dance students, their parents bring them sometimes to the schools or whatever. And so then it's time for the show, and they're like frozen, you know. But I've not experienced that working with the project here in Sedona. So I'm very happy. I'm happy because that means there's some transformation happening in those people. But I try to be sensitive. I'm after Vortifest, because I didn't realize, you know, and then afterwards I went, oh my gosh, this was like groundbreaking. I've been on the stage many, many times in my life, so you kind of take it for granted. Yeah, like, oh, I'm going to go on stage. And I went, oh, God, this like, and the stories that these people shared about what that meant to them in that moment to go and to hear the audience clap, you know, that final bow, like, wow, you know, like, yeah, because that energy is so powerful. When an audience doesn't even realize that when they clap, what that's doing is like this energy that's like pulsating, that's coming out of them, and love, right? Because this is appreciation, right? And so it's an intention that they're sending to you, and if it's a large audience, boom, I mean, it's a lot of energy coming at you. And they came off the stage like they were just so hyped afterwards, and it was so fun to see that, like, for somebody's first time. Yeah, I was honored to be a part of that, like just to watch that, you know. So yeah,
and for you also to remember the feeling of your first times going on stage and receiving that appreciation and clap.
Yeah, it's really amazing.
I love all this. Dance means so much to me, and being in your presence and feeling so inspired about what is possible with dance really ignites my soul. Thank you.
And dance brings community together, right? I mean, you think every culture has had dance, right? And so you have social dances and people dancing together. And it's no different even if we do it for performance, because we come together, we create a community. And some people are sad after, you know, a show's over because they came every week, they worked with those people. And so to be a facilitator even of that is, you know, I try to realize that I need to really embrace the importance of that. You know, not just be like, oh, we're just getting together, you know, throwing something together. Like I never think of it that, like, I think of it as this is a really important thing that we're doing, you know, even though the rest of the world might think, it's just a dance, you know. No, it's not. Not if you're in the room and it's live and you're experiencing it. There's something really magical. And so these cultures all over the world, you know, have always had dance. Like it's always been a part of every culture. It's so important, right? And then to be able to come and create and share that with other people is just so powerful. Yeah. I'm so grateful.
For me, it's a journey of remembrance, because we are tribal beings, and the dance, as you were saying, bring people together, and it's part of being community beings, dancing and tuning to the same rhythm. And there's a moment that our hearts are synced at the same time, and there's no longer separation of, oh, this is your movement, my movement is, we're all moving together, and our movement is creating a spiral of transformation for self and for others.
Yeah, it's powerful. Yeah. Wow. Aren't we lucky?
Yes, we are.
So grateful, like,
yes,
and
we are.
to live this life of dance, you know,
and to dance in this land here.
Yeah.
Sedona.
And every time I think I'm leaving it, it just keeps coming back to me. So, you know, every chapter in my life that I thought, okay, maybe this is now moving on, and then I guess the universe still has some things planned, and we have some wonderful things planned. So some new ones, and we'll have some guest artists this year coming through. So hopefully have a concert in the fall, another one in the spring, as well as guest appearances at other events. And then we'll be traveling. We'll do a festival in Vegas and a festival in Phoenix. The Arizona Dance Festival usually is in the fall in Phoenix, and then there's a couple of other festivals, and then there's also Rooted in Movement in the spring. We'll bring something. So we love collaborating and offering with other festivals. I've done festivals for the last 10 years, and I really love that, because I'll bring a piece, right, and there'll be 10 other dance companies, you know, from all over coming together to do this festival, and you get to sit and watch their work, and they watch your work, and then you create collaborations later on. You say, hey, let's get together and let's create something. And so it just keeps going. It's like you do one thing, and then that one thing's done, and it's not really over. It's just, it's the catalyst for the next thing. And so I'm never really sad. I'm not attached, like even that we just did our dance concert. I'm never attached to the pieces that I've done, and they can change too. You could do it one way here, and then the next time do it totally different. It's okay, because it's like a mandala, right? And dance is only in that moment. And you can videotape it, but video doesn't capture the same thing. All that work, because somebody said, oh, you did all that work just for one show, like maybe you should do 10 shows. I go, but we don't need to do 10 shows, like, you know, and we don't have the audience yet for that. We will build a dance audience eventually, and we can't afford that because we have to rent the venue. You know, like to be a nonprofit dance company is, you know, the finances is always an issue with anything we do. And so when I started the Sedona Dance Project, this is something I learned from Brandon, because he talked about the Ubuntu philosophy a lot, like about communities just coming together and using this philosophy that everybody work 3 hours a week, and that's all they would have to do, and everybody's needs would be met, you know, because if you have 10,000 people working 3 hours a week, that's 30,000 hours, right? And think about, that's 30,000 hours going into tilling the land and building somebody's house. And so if we all were focused and we put our energy to something, right? And I thought, why can't we do that with the arts? Let's try that with a dance company, because I don't have any money to start this thing, but I want to start it. And so I thought, and it just came naturally. So Teresa, with Teresa's tie-dyes, said, I'll give you clothing to wear. And also the Red Rose thrift store, Tina, she was like, would you like to come and see what clothes I have that you guys can use? And I was like, there it is. That's that Ubuntu. They're just offering that service. I can give them the clothes back. So it's not like we're taking from everybody. It's just a service. And then the dancers come and they offer their time, which is the most valuable thing. Yes, they want to dance and they want to perform, but they're giving something to the project when they come in, because they're giving their time and their energy.
And their love.
Yeah. And so I appreciate that deeply. And the venues, we had, the city of Sedona, I mean, it's fairly inexpensive to rent the hub as a nonprofit. So having that opportunity to do that, plus people invited us to perform in their platforms, like the Illuminate Film Festival, and the Vortifest, like all these other festivals that already had the platform, invited us in and said, here, come and perform. So it's that Ubuntu, everybody helping in some way, whatever they have to offer, was making the art happen. And then we had the musicians come. And when we did the Vortifest, we had John Dumas and we had Gabriel Brown playing on the drums, and they totally were like, yeah, let's do this, and they offered their time. At that time, we couldn't pay anybody anything. We were just like, we're doing this thing, and everybody was like, yeah, and they didn't even know what it was going to be, and they trusted it, and it ended up being spectacular. I think because of all the energy that was going towards it, right? All that positive energy and hope, right? Dance brings hope too, because you're hopeful that it's going to have this impact, or we're going to make this wonderful thing. And so there's this hope while you're creating it, even though it might seem silly to other people, it's just this hope for this one performance and then it's done. But it's hope, and some people just need something to focus on, and together, right? Yeah. And so it allows for that. And so bringing all these artists together that offered their time, whatever, even if there's a visual artist, we were building the altar, right? And Laura Ella with the upcycle candles, she had the beautiful glass spheres that they blow in their workshop. Anything we needed appeared right in the community. So I think Sedona Dance Project, we're going to write some grants, but I would hope that we don't rely on just government grants like most dance companies, but that we're supported by community. And yes, of course we need donors and people to donate money because we have to rent venues and we have to buy costumes occasionally too. There's costumes that have to be specifically made for pieces, and then we want to travel and take the dances elsewhere. That's always cost, it does cost something for a place to stay and the gas and, all those things. But I believe those things will come as well. But the beauty of it is just how the community was coming together so that dance can happen, because you think it's really sad when you think about how many, there were probably so many creative ideas that never came. So that's what Sedona Dance Project is now that we're established, and we will be getting the funding, we can create that platform so that people who want to dance can come, and people who want to learn will come underneath, of this organization and want to learn how to do concert dance. There's all kinds of dance out there too, and it's all different. This is concert dance, so it's a little bit different. Sometimes somebody might come and they want to juggle or whatever, but it's not a variety show, and there is a time and a place for all of that. But this is about creating art in movement, right? So it's something that we want to create dances that people look at and want to look at again, and want to look at again and see a deeper meaning every time they come back to it. That's art. And so that's the difference, I think, for people to understand that it's not that we're excluding or thinking that we're higher than anything. It's just that we're protecting this container, and this is what this is intended to be. And it's important for me to communicate that this is art in motion, and that's what we're trying to create. And so and protect that and protect what that is, which is why I did a lot of the choreography this year, just to create the this is what it's gonna, this is kind of what it is, this is what it looks like. So people
Right.
know. And now we know, and now we can have other choreographers that want to come in that can work, because they have to be able to know how to work with the movers. So someone that's sensitive and can work with movers,
Yeah, the way you do.
and excited about that, to see what, like, new people come in and do that. So that's coming.
Wonderful. I'm excited for that, for the unfolding.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, Danielle, as we close and thank our audience for tuning in,
Thank you.
is there any last message that you have, something that you want to share?
The biggest thing is just to go after what you're dreaming and what you believe in, and trust that voice that's deep inside you that someone might have tried to push down.
Yeah.
Right? Just allow it to come out, because this is me, the little girl that wanted to create little dances with her friends.
And look at you, here you are, with a non-profit and many movers and dancers that love you and
Thank
really
you.
inspired by you. Thank you so much. And to learn more about Sedona Dance Project, please follow our links. Thank you so much for being here. Looking forward to seeing you here in Sedona in the Red Rocks and dance.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.